Hello everyone, Fandom here. I am a huge Doro enthusiast, and I put in a natural amount of time towards thinking about Doro and ingesting content about her. Something about this goofy, grumbling creature really captured my heart through all the fan works and eventual promotional material surrounding her. Lots of people know Doro, having come across some of her many edits and memes, without knowing Nikke or her origins. I want to share my obsession with you, diving into the journey Doro or Dororong has gone through from a drawing on a forum to being an official mascot of Goddess of Victory Nikke, who has traveled around the world in real life. I had a ton of fun putting my strange passion towards Doro into writing, so I hope you enjoy it. And here's me guzzling everything I could find concerning Doro like a drug addict. Before we go any further, please do keep in mind that the legacy of Doro involves sources in multiple languages from various places across the internet. So there could be some minor inaccuracies, and will definitely be some details left out. I love to talk about Doro, but I can't mention absolutely everything. I also cannot credit every single drawing, meme, edit, etc., as most of them have been spread around a ton and do not have watermarks. But I will cite everything I can, and if any Doro creators see something here that you made, feel free to shout yourself out. I also include a lot of links and pictures for your reference in the blog post version of this, which you can find in the description. And if there's anything genuinely incorrect that I have here, feel free to let me know, especially if you have actual evidence for it. And in the blog post, I could add annotations and stuff like that. And no, this is not sponsored in any way. I just love Doro, so I'm going to promote Doro-related things. So, getting into the origins, Doro/Dororong is loosely based on Dorothy from the Goddess of Victory Nikke video game. Nikke is a gacha game featuring behind the back, emphasis on the behind, shooter gameplay, following the story of a world where raptures have taken over Earth, forcing humanity underground and to rely on cyborg soldiers called Nikke to defend themselves and to hopefully retake the surface. The game first released in July of 2022. I had heard about it at that point, but I just thought of it as like the gacha game that puts the most emphasis on butts, which is very based by the way. Eventually, I picked up the game in December of 2022 after hearing even some people I know praise the game's story and the character writing. And they were right, I became a big fan of the series soon after. I do not play the game consistently at this point, but I pop back in and play for a bit every few months or so. And the game really picked up this summer, with set events in the summer inspiring me to put together this deep dive on Doro. We'll get into the summer events and the stuff around that a bit later. Part of what makes Doro funnier for people who know Nikke is her contrast with Dorothy. Dorothy has a very serious role in the story and is a pretty dramatic character. Nikke does genuinely have great writing when it comes to the story, and Dorothy contributes heavily to that. So out of all the characters in Nikke that could have become like a fan, meme, goofy character, she is the least fitting one if you really consider who she is in canon. But that juxtaposition is just what makes it even better from a meta standpoint. Such as you can see here, this is Doro with her mother Dorothy, with Dorothy encouraging Doro to do a crime. In terms of the wider use of Doro as a meme, Dorothy's involvement mostly just comes down to the design of Doro. We will see her as she looks in her bare body form, taking Dorothy's head and cheapifying it, and another version where she is often wearing Dorothy's dress, both of which you can see in the thumbnail. Both of these designs will be used across the fandom in different pieces. And now, let's get into the true history of Doro. Her origins lie on the South Korean message board Archive back in 2021, where chibi art of Stella Unibel from Soul Worker, with her head simplified and on top of a bare white body, was apparently a popular meme. Then a drawing uploaded by the user Kakarot showed her running while pulling a sled behind them. This will set the framework for Doro, as her design and the movements that become most associated with her come from this, and the surrounding memes that cropped around about Stella through to 2023. And in June of 2023, the following Archive user uploaded emotes based on the body of that I previously stated, with the head of Dorothy from Nikke instead, and thus Dororong or Doro was born. Yeah, they're both the same character, Doro or Dororong. I just prefer to use Doro, and I think that's the name most people use. And if you want to get a little bit more into this side of things, I got a lot of this info from the Know Your Meme page about Dororong, so you can feel free to go there. This is the design that is used for the vast majority of Doro related things. But like I said, there are a few alternatives, like different outfits and stuff like that used in different fandoms. It's believed that around August or so, Doro started to really get noticed and see more use outside the South Korean fan base. And from there, the meme slowly gained in popularity across the Nikkei fan base as a whole, resulting in late 2023 when the meme really exploded and entered the, you could say, like the internet main stage. This is when most people who didn't already know about it started seeing it in their feeds, such as seeing Doro as reaction images, memes, and in animations. Doro Nikkei was my first exposure to Doro, which came out in November of 2023. This one also serves as an easy way to see many of the memes, edits, animations, etc. that have been made about Doro up until that point. There are so many people who have created things around Doro, all of which should be given their respect. Everyone creating and sharing things helps to grow the community, both big and small. But for the sake of the discussion, there are some people and places of the fandom that can be focused on for their larger contributions, which is what I'll be doing. One person who has to get credit for popularizing Doro is Muzan Pro. He's an animator on YouTube who has primarily done animations of Nikkei since late 2022. His first Doro-focused animation came out in November of 2022 and has over 500,000 views. I think this video in particular both exposed a lot of Nikkei fans to Doro and reached a wider animation viewership, and thus exposing them to Doro. The Doro, which is one of his videos, is, to my knowledge, he's the biggest of like the fan art type of Nikkei creator, with his videos consistently hitting hundreds of thousands of views. Many people have said that they've discovered Doro through seeing something from Muzan on their YouTube feed. Since then, he has created many more animations of Doro and is a big contributor into keeping Doro exposure alive. GIFs from his videos are very highly used in the community. So, you've seen a GIF of Doro, there's a decent chance it was by Muzan Pro. He can also be noted as popularizing the version of Doro that wears the dress, which we'll see later, but he's made animations of Doro with a variety of outfits and stuff like that. For example, I have Doro doing the rap dance, which is also from Muzan Pro. There are a countless number of memes and edits made of Doro. At this point, Doro can be and do pretty much absolutely anything. In terms of personality, she is most often portrayed as a chaotic gremlin, intentionally causing trouble and or destruction. These are most of what you will see, and in the video that I mentioned at the beginning, which is Doro and then Nikkei in brackets, has a lot of those ones, such as this one of Doro standing in front of the burning fire like that very classic meme. So a lot of the things you see are going to be her being this chaos gremlin, but I also want to focus on kind of some of the less talked about sides of Doro, which is where she's portrayed more like a cute humanoid child or an animal, who deserves love and has no ill intentions from her actions. There's a less noticed and talked about side of Doro that I want to focus on for a bit, which on screen I've got a few of them, some of these rarer, more wholesome or pitiable sides of Doro portrayed through these images. On this note, I want to talk about one side of the Doro fan creations that really stuck out to me and had a big effect on the fandom in ways some people might not notice, which also takes us to the Chinese part of the fandom. While the majority of Doro-related content is purely for goofs, this one I'm about to talk about is the opposite. And that is what made it extra effective on me and many others in the fandom who stumbled across it. As sad as it is, the contrast is genuinely very interesting, and it did have a notable impact on Doro's identity. Warning that you can skip ahead if you'd rather be ignorant to something very more sad creation. I was shocked by how emotionally affected I was by this story, and the fan works and discourse that came from it. I'll be providing the story through a translation done by Joe Haku on Twitter below or on screen, and as the original is in Chinese. And there are various translations, but Joe's is the best. And showing some images as well that were tied to the original. If you don't want to read or hear the full thing, you can just you can read it. So if you want to read the full thing, you can read it on screen, but I will be doing a short summary version just to keep the video going. A short summary is that the prospective character befriended Doro and eventually left the city they both lived in at the time. Doro wanted to give them the oranges they had previously shared in together but could not afford them. She stole them and got hurt, leading to her tripping and dropping the oranges as she failed to catch up to the prospective character, and the character then leaves the city by train. Their Perspective character eventually returns years later to find Doro dead under the train station, alone but surrounded by orange trees. I really was shocked by how emotionally devastated I was by the original story. I'm not going to call it one of the best short stories written ever or anything, but I cannot deny its success at getting various messages across with good writing and really impacting you in the feels. It being about Doro definitely hurts someone like me more, as if you can already tell already, I love Doro. But I know people who read this on its own without knowing much about Doro and still really felt that emotional impact. I genuinely couldn't stop thinking about it for a while and just felt straight up depressed, really while thinking about it. And there's a mix of factors and ways to interpret it that cause so many people to resonate with it so much. The most obvious is that it is a very sad story of a Doro being emotionally and physically hurt. Obviously that's sad. But there is more to it than that. The story really left me with a contemplative mood about love and regret. For me, it was incredibly sad because I saw it as a story of someone not appreciating what they had in front of them. They threw away the loving relationship they had, not understanding what they had lost until it was gone. Following the symbolism of the orange they ate being incredibly sweet, but hurting their heart. You could also see the ending as representing life going on. Doro may have lost the person, but her love and her life was still able to have a positive impact on the world, through the beautiful orange trees she planted. As mentioned before, Doro is a goofy meme character who people just associate with silliness and cuteness. They took that warm perception and stabbed it in the heart. The contrast of using a silly and beloved character in a genuinely sad story worked really well as subversion. And I think it really revealed the desire for love and the tenderness that people have, especially people who are on the internet who may not have as many close relationships. The user who wrote the story apparently took inspiration from the story My Father is Back by Zhu Xingjing. This, along with the cultural knowledge of oranges being a quote-unquote poverty food for some in certain areas, made it resonate with a lot of people, outside of what I mentioned before. I also thought this is worth mentioning because this is an example of how a character can truly become so big that they could be used in anything and really have a range of impact. Some fans who connected with the story but disliked the sad ending wrote and made creations with their own ending. Some of the alternatives are that Doro did not in fact die and the corpse they found was just an old character who helped Doro in this extended universe or whatever, and she reunites with the Perspective character. And one where the Perspective character just brings Doro along with them as they leave the city. An animation of the latter scenario got very popular, and is the reason why I and many others came across the story in the first place. I much prefer the happier endings. Doro may be a being of chaos, but I don't want to see her sad. I'm one of those people who you could say that Doro has almost become like a comfort character for. And that's why the story really mostly impacted a lot of people in the Doro community, and why I really think it's interesting. Because it really is this total, complete tone shift of Doro. But moving on, as a result of the story and the discourse surrounding it becoming very popular, Doro became synonymous with oranges. There is a lot of fan art based on this story, and with the oranges even appearing in memes and other things with Doro that have nothing to do with that story, usually as a symbol for Doro other than her face. Like Muzan Pro, for example, has used them in his animations multiple times. And the tripping scene is so popular that it's even been reenacted at conventions. This is a strange but I think important aspect of the Doro history that I really want to talk about. Sorry if I made you sad, but now you know how I felt when I first found it. And I genuinely do think it's important to have media that emotionally impacts us, and even when it is genuinely sad. But moving on from that story, it's more melancholic side of the Doro fandom, and let's just get back to having fun and focus on how Doro has been widely seen. Purely for fun, if we wanted to try to take stock on Doro's abilities across her appearances in the fandom, she can do things like Dorify people via her tongue, run faster than most vehicles, utilize modern weaponry like pipe bombs and machinery like helicopters to form the Doro Nation military. She can perform dances like twerking. She can do a kickflip on a skateboard. She can operate a food delivery service. She can survive re-entering Earth's atmosphere, and otherwise be infinite in scope and power. Many of the creations surrounding her have her in the world of Nikke, but she grew to be used in pretty much everything. She even has many reaction images and memes that people use outside of like direct Doro or Nikke related discourse, like reaction images. Doro has often been used in the community in mainstream memes that have come out, such as the Thaur meme, where she's one of the only characters that I've seen in that meme who can overpower the lemon. People have even made mods for Doro in various games, like replacing animals, like dogs. I've seen many DIY craft works made with Doro by people such as like Melon Shoe, and I've seen many Dorified media characters and OCs as well. People love Doro, and you can find Doro everywhere. And me, being among one of those people, I've been using my own Dorified head as my icon on a lot of my social medias, like I am right now. So in a way, Doro Ray is an official mascot for me. Mine was made by Choco BW, which you can find him, but you can also find lots of people online who directly offer commissions for Doro. So again, that just shows how popular Doro is. That people bother to actually have their own specific like emote packs and stuff like that just for Doro. All in all, Doro is a character that exploded in popularity, with memes, edits, fan art, fan work such as stories and animations and more that cover pretty much everything you can think of. When it comes to Doro herself, she can range from a gremlin creature who can make you laugh through her appearances and all manner of silly shenanigans, to more of a like humanoid character who can make you cry through genuinely thought-provoking works. You really feel the community's passion for Doro through this massive variety of fan works. I hope I've done a good job of showing off many of the community's fan works that birthed her, and I hope you enjoy my own contribution to the great legacy of Doro, which is this. Now we are moving on to Doro becoming an official mascot for Nikke, which I am considering to be her involvement in official products made by the companies involved with Nikke, such as Shipped Up. I'll be going through the notable events I'm mentioning here in relative chronological order. For Nikke's April Fool's Day in 2024, they added Dorified versions of Matisse, Maxwell, and Drake into the game, through the burst animation of Suen, who was a limited release. This is genuinely my favorite April Fool's related thing in the game so far. It also references a few other memes outside of just Doro. Even people I know who don't play Nikke thought it was hilarious. You can find the animation on your own if you want, but again, in the blog post and the script that you can find in the description, I have a link to it. And then, this is the first instance of Doro being used within Nikke, or even being referenced, that I was able to find. And then moving on to June of 2025, Doro made a cameo in Stellar Blade, which is another game made by Shipped Up, in the Stellar Blade X Goddess of Victory Nikke DLC. Right now, I'm showing her on screen, mid doing an Akira slide during an entrance. She references a lot of stuff in that entrance. They did a really great job putting her extremely simplistic 2D design in 3D. I couldn't imagine her looking any other way. And I love how ridiculous they went with her here. Her steps sound like horse hooves, despite her limbs being blank nubs. She does silly poses with goofy sound effects. She goes back and forth between running bipedal and quadrupedal while tripping over herself. And when you shoot at her, she dodges your bullets and laughs at you. If you continue to chase her and successfully hit her once she stops to rest, you can get a sticker of her iconic 2D look, with her being dubbed a mysterious creature who wants to be a Stellar Blade master. It really does feel like they ripped the goofy meme creature straight from the internet and threw her in the game. The way she mocks you represents the smug and deviousness that she has in her memes. Her most iconic movement is her running, so it makes sense for her to run away from you. Her running on both 2 and 4 legs represents how she is shown doing either across various memes. Watching people's reactions to Doro showing up has been very funny as well, so I've really enjoyed it through that. Her inclusion in Stellar Blade is hilarious, and truly a perfect representation of Doro. It is absolute cinema. Then moving on, we've got the big Doro-related event, which is the summer of 2025. When they made a big international promotional campaign centered around Doro, the Doro Family Summer Tour. This had a boat with a big Doro float visit multiple cities around the world, and each place it stopped, fans could come up to the float and take pictures and do interactive stuff like that. She visited Osaka in Japan, Seoul in Korea, New York City in the United States, Taipei in Taiwan, and Bangkok in Thailand. I genuinely wish I could have been there for the visit to New York. It came with the official song of the event, Doro Doro Sama Sama. Feel free to listen to it if you want to. I have that linked. It's a very cute and upbeat song. I genuinely listened to it a ton over the summer. It's just like really nice and pleasant. And there, they also included Doro versions of a few other Nikke characters in the promotion with their own Dorified names, like Allegro for a leg, Rapiro for Rappy, Eniro for Anise, and Nero for Neon. And by the way, there is a Nikke called Nero, it is not that one. During this promotion, they held a creator event where fans could submit their creations for the chance to win prizes, with the grand prize being $500. And they also sponsored multiple creators to promote the event, such as Muzan Pro, who I mentioned before, and Mr. H. They're another animator that I watched a lot of their videos of. They're really good, mostly ones related to VTubers, who both made animated videos in their usual style. And what makes these sponsorships work in my eyes is that it still feels like a creation of that person. As I know I am one of a massive amount of people who are very tired of promotional things like advertisements and stuff like that, even as purely as a viewer of things like YouTube, I'm getting very tired of having sponsorships thrown in my face. But here, I don't really feel that negative feeling from it, because it doesn't feel like they were given severe restrictions or scripts or anything like that jeopardize their ability to keep the creation to their style and tone, etc. So again, shows that I really think the Nikke devs go about these things the right way. Nikke got a lot of reach thanks to fan creations, with Doro itself being a fan creation. So the best way to have fans make things for them officially is to just let them do what they do. And I think that's exactly what they did. I think this event fully embraces that idea of the goofy fan creations that are very stylized and can be very unique. It's been awesome to see so many new Doro-related things thanks to this campaign. So when it comes to fan creator events, I think this was a good one. And it was a really fun way to embrace Doro. I really think it was a great move from them, even just from a business standpoint, as this was a fairly unique and a fun way to reach people. And it makes sense for them to embrace Doro as well. Doro has a very easy design to adapt, and is acceptable to show in public across the world, unlike a lot of Nikke designs. The simple, cutesy design already fits in with the aesthetic you think of for mascots, and as clearly shown by the Doro fandom, she can be inserted into pretty much anything. Their embracing of Doro is one of the many instances of Nikke developers, I think, being very genuinely smart and in touch with their fanbase, at least compared to the average video game company. They saw Doro take the world by storm and become beloved, so they embraced it to the point of making it a recurring part of their brand, and I think it feels genuine. I've never seen anyone try to make this out as pandering or anything like that. Everyone who likes Doro seems to love that the developers are playing into it. And if what I've read online is correct, they did actually get permission from the various sources of Doro that they were able to, and when it came to doing official products and promotions, which, is always great to see, especially in the modern day with AI and stuff like that, stealing things from creators. It is nice to see bigger companies and stuff like that actually get proper permissions and stuff. And now moving on, I want to talk about merch, because I love merch, and I just think it's fun to talk about. I like looking at merch, but also it is important to talk about merch on this topic because it again is further showing that the devs are embracing and showing their commitment to Doro as a mascot. Since Doro's official embracement by ShiftUp, there have been a lot of official pieces of merchandise featuring Doro. I've always been a big fan of cute and fun merch, so I'm going to talk about these. I'm just going to be mentioning some more notable ones that you can easily find information on online and be able to order. And again, just a reminder, I am not sponsored by anyone, I just want to talk about Doro and her merch. First, we have a very simple, small figurine from Ami Ami that is the quintessential Doro in all of her glory. There is a Doro-inspired design version of Cinderella as well, and this is the one that I'm planning to get, the Doro. It's just so cute. I really want this devious creature on my desk. But that's not the only Doro figurine. Moving on to another one, this one being a collab between Ami Ami and Snail Shell, and is a customizable model. She has a normal, smug, and sad face, and she comes with props like a broom and plastic bags filled with oranges. You can also move her arms and her legs. You know that sad fan story about oranges I talked about before? If you didn't connect the dots already, this figure intentionally references it, and they even show it to you in their promotional images. They made the conscious decision to have some of the display photos on the shop page have her walking around carrying oranges, and then crying while surrounded by trash in an alley that definitely looks like it's in a city. Those trash cans used in the picture don't even come with the figure. Those cruel monsters went out of their way to show us a sad, impoverished Doro left behind by the prospective character in that story. Thanks for making me depressed all over again. And jokes aside, it is genuinely very cool to have official merchandise that directly references fan-made stories. Again, this is showing how developers actually looked into these things. They actually did the research. They actually knew what Doro was about, what was popular with fans with Doro. When there are so many companies that just totally half-ass their attempts to appeal and can come across as pandering, to me this is the complete opposite of that. So while I've gone over my trauma from the orange story, I'm not sure if I will get this one. And moving on to just one more set of figures, we have a Dorified set from Hobby Sakura that includes Doro, Suen, and the 3 members of Suen's Matisse squad, plus Shifty. These pics also reference the 2024 April Fool's event. These are a blind box set, so if anyone wants these, I wish everyone luck if they're going for the whole collection or if you're just going for your favorite. And outside of these, I just want to talk about smaller merch. I've seen some pictures of like small things, like buttons and pins, but these are likely only available in stores in China or Japan, so I don't really want to focus on that. I was able to find 2 non-figure related merchandise that I want to share because they're cute and again, you can actually find them online. The Andamon website lists a Doro plush pillow and a keychain coming out in 2026. If you want a Doro to cuddle or be violent towards, the smug pillow may suit your fancy. And if you want to publicly show your Doro obsession to the world, you can go with the keychain. I think these are both cute, and I'm a bigger fan of like smaller pieces of merch nowadays, especially ones you can show off, because I'm trying to become more of that like person who shows off things that he's into. And it could seem weird to talk about so much about merch, but one, I did just because it's fun, that's the number one priority. But other than that, the sheer amount of Doro merch that they're making proves that they are actually committed to bringing this character to life and truly working it into their brand. It's important to note that pretty much all the merch I shared here is not out yet. They didn't just make a bunch of merch for their big Doro summer event that I mentioned earlier, when Doro hype was probably at its peak among like the big fans. So they weren't just cashing in on this one event, just, all right, let's focus on Doro for the summer. Here's a ton of stuff, hopefully people buy it, and then we'll give up. This is not that. This is a consistent stream of Doro merchandise from various sources. So using that analysis, I expect Doro to continue to be a mascot for them. And I believe this shows how confident they are in Doro as a brand symbol. And I, for one, am really looking forward to seeing even more from Doro in the future. And with that, I believe we're caught up on the current state of Doro. To summarize, Doro started as a chibi drawing of Dorothy from Gods of Victory Nikke, based off another fan art on a forum. She then grew a life of her own in 2023, becoming a massively popular meme character, spread across the internet by a passionate fan base, through a myriad of fan works including emotes, animations, edits, and writing. Her popularity grew so much that she was acknowledged by developers of Nikke starting in 2024, who by now have included her in games, real-life promotions, and merchandise. I really hope that you got some enjoyment from this. I hope I either did something along the lines of turning you into a Doro fan, accelerating the Doro brain rot if you already like Doro, or at least satisfied the curiosity of anyone who stumbled across this strange creature on your timeline and wondered what the heck this creature is. I really can't wait to see what the future holds for a cute and chaotic little Doro. So, thank you very much for listening to me gush about the story of this silly meme creature. I cannot guarantee you this brought you any useful knowledge for your everyday life, but I hope it brought you joy in some way like how Doro has brought joy to me. Without joking, I truly do want to show appreciation for how internet memes can genuinely bring people together, bring joy, and foster positive communities, and connect communities together. So one thing I wanted to emphasize through this is that this is a very international fandom. You got the English-speaking fandom, you got the Chinese fandom, which, by the way, Nikke is a Chinese game made by Chinese developers, and the South Korean fandom. Of course, there are more than just those 3, but I just wanted to illustrate that, yeah, this is an international character, beloved by people across the world, and I think that's awesome. I think that's beautiful. Internet content like memes have become so normal at this point that I think we can forget how impactful they can be. Like, for example, with me, this is easily the most research-intensive thing I have ever done and did it simply because I wanted to, like not through school or anything like that. Despite this requiring a lot of work, it is also one of the most fun things that I have put together, and I think is one of my favorites. This is my first time doing one of these more research-heavy, sort of retrospective pieces, so I really hope you enjoyed it. And this is only possible because I stumbled across Doro and really just fell in love with this character. I plan to do more in this vein of what I'm calling deep dives, where I really dive into the details on something I like, in a more like structured and informative way. Please let me know if you like this, and if you want to see more about me gushing about things I love in great detail. And thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed, and check out my website, Blog Under a Log, in the description, which has write-ups of pretty much all of my videos, and some articles that have not made it to YouTube, such as my manga chapter reviews of Bocchi the Rock, and some articles written by other people. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to financially support me, or as a free member, you can get updates on when I upload on my blog and here on my YouTube channel.